Hello, Brigadiers and Brigadettes. Welcome, Blue Jackets fans and hockey fans alike. I am your captain speaking. Welcome to the podcast, and let's dive into some hockey content. Hey, everybody. How's your Tuesday going? Hopefully well. Mine is going pretty well so far. I just finished a coding assignment, and it's not even really anything for my major. I'm supposed to be a broadcaster, but I had to do coding, and hey, that was a pain in the butt, but we're done with it. And so my week just got a lot better because it's done. Don't mind my hair, it's a mess. I tried to comb it. I'm growing it out, so maybe it'll get better over time. Anyway, the topic today will be the Great Eight, Alex Ovechkin, and he has stated that he wants to finish his career in the KHL. According to Russian international TV, Ovechkin has stated, quote, "There are certain goals that I have wanted to achieve after my career, but my career is not over yet. I'm still in my prime. I think I will definitely play for a few more years. God grant that my health is good. I would finish in Russia at Dynamo Moscow." Ovechkin would also go on to state, quote, "It's not a question of money, it's a matter of principle. I played for only two teams, Dynamo and Washington." The most notable thing that Alex said here is, quote, "It is clear in 2, 3, 4 years, maybe 5, I will end my career in Washington." He said, quote, "I want to end on a beautiful note, to play my last match for Dynamo Moscow." So, for starters, I think it was a little shocking. I think I did know that he wanted to play for Dynamo Moscow to finish his career, but to be honest, I thought that was like 6, 7, 8 years away. I thought that he was going to try to stay in the NHL as long as he could in order to break Gretzky's record, and we will talk about that a little bit later in this episode, but I think that it's going to be a lot harder to break the Great One's record now for all-time scoring when it comes to goals, obviously. So obviously it was a little shocking, but I think this really could hurt his chance, but we'll talk about that later though, like I said. Another thing I wanted to say is, could Alex Ovechkin play in the KHL in 5 years? My answer is absolutely. There is no reason Alex Ovechkin wouldn't be able to play in the KHL in 5 years. Ovechkin is one of the greatest goal scorers in NHL history, and he'll be fine in the KHL. He can play at an old age. Yes, the KHL is probably the second best hockey league in the world, but I think Ovechkin will still be able to put up nice numbers. I'm not going to say that he's going to be the greatest player in the KHL. Who knows? Maybe in 5 years. I don't know. That's so tough to say, but a good example of that is Pavel Datsyuk. He is a 42-year-old currently playing in the KHL. Obviously, you know Pavel Datsyuk played for the Red Wings for, 13, 14, 15 years, something like that. And he went to the KHL, and he, like I said, is 42, and he's still playing there. Datsyuk actually put up really good numbers from the 2016-17 season to the 2018-19 season. As in those 3 seasons, he put up 32 goals, 79 assists, 111 points, and 135 games played, which was good for 0.82 points per game. And that was in the year 40 for Pavel. And he is dropped off a little bit. The past 2 years, his numbers weren't what they were before, but he's still putting out pretty decent numbers. If you remember Datsyuk pretty well, he was somebody that maybe would score a decent amount of goals, but he was usually able to dish out the puck pretty well. His scoring's tapered off in the KHL the past 2 years, but he's still being able to dish out the puck pretty well. But either way, I mean, at age 40, he was still putting up very good stats. So obviously you can see that you can play in the KHL at an old age and still be effective. And Ovi, I think, in my opinion, is better than Datsyuk, but I don't know. Red Wings fans, let me know what you think. Now, that being said, let's take a look at Alex Ovechkin's career stats. And for starters, I want to talk about his first 4 years. Sorry, I had something in my eye. At Dynamo Moscow before he joined the NHL. One thing I will say is I don't think these stats count for the KHL because even though it's a lot of the same teams, the KHL didn't officially start until 2008. So in year 1, this is, I don't know if it's the Russian Hockey League, whatever they called it back in the day. So year 1, he had 2 goals, 2 assists, 4 points, and 21 games played. Good for 0.19 points per game. So you can see that whatever league it was at the time, it was still a, pretty competitive league to where Ovechkin wasn't just dominating the Russian league before it was a KHL. And he really didn't have a crazy amazing year until his 4th year there. So year 2, 8 goals, 7 assists, 15 points, and 40 games played, good for 0.38 points per game. Year 3, 13 goals, 10 assists, 23 points, and 53 games played, which came out to be 0.43 points per game. And then year 4, this is the year that he kind of had he did have his best season. He actually got better every year. And then he finished with 13 goals, 14 assists, 27 points, and 37 games played, which was his best season when it came to points per game, as it was .73 is what he averaged. Now, overall, his Russian stats were 36 goals, 33 assists, 69 points, and 151 games played. So his points per game over the 4 years for Dynamo Moscow were .46 points per game. As you can see, every year he got better. He had 3 great showing at World Juniors, so the Capitals selected him first overall in the 2004 draft. Now, I will say, I think one of those World Juniors that he played in was the lockout year, so I don't think that was part of what they decided when they got him, but I think he had 2 great showings for World Juniors, so that's why they ended up picking him. Plus he had size, he could hit, obviously his offensive game was there, and at one point Ovi was a relatively decent NHL defensive player, and I think that's tapered off a little bit over the past few years just because seems like he's more focused on offense. But anyway, obviously the Capitals selected him first overall in the 2004 draft. But you have to remember we had that lockout year, that 04-05 lockout draft. And so obviously he played his 4th year in Russia during the lockout. So he didn't exactly get rusty in that time. Now let's take a look at his NHL stats. Year 1, he obviously has grown a little bit. He still played with Dynamo Moscow, but going into year 1 in the NHL, he tore up the league. The 05-06 season, 52 goals, 54 assists, 106 points, and 81 games played, which came out to be 1.31 points per game. So right off the bat, he was just insane. Year 2, 06-07 season, 46 goals, 46 assists, 92 points, and 82 games played, good for 1.12 points per game. Another very good season. Obviously, Ovi's just never really had a terrible year. Year 3, 07-08, that season, 65 goals, that's insane, 47 assists, 112 points, and 82 games played, which was a whopping 1.37 points per game. It's actually the highest Ovi's point total has ever been in his career, and I imagine that'll probably be where it is. I can't see him getting any more, or getting a higher number than 112 points. And then year 4, another amazing season, that is the 08-09 season. 56 goals, 54 assists, 110 points, and 79 games played. This was the highest points per game for him until year 5, but this year in year 4 he had 1.39 points per game. Then in year 5, the 09-10 season, 50 goals, 59 assists, 109 points, and 72 games played. This was a career high for Ovi. And his points per game was 1.51. He'll never pass that again unless, he plays like 10 games and then has 15, 16 points in that span and then gets hurt or something like that. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but I can't see him getting above that for his points per game average. But who knows? Ovi is obviously still putting up great numbers when it comes to goal scoring. His ability to pass has tapered off a little bit or just pick up assists. So obviously I want to just stop right here and say this is probably the best version of Ovi we ever got this first 5 years. And it's sad because year 5, if I do believe, yes, was his last 100-point season, 100-point plus season. And even though he's still amazing and we think that he's obviously the greatest, or one of the greatest goal scorers of all time, it's just kind of one of those what ifs where it's like, let's say his passing hadn't tipped over and he would have been able to keep up the passing numbers as well. If he would have been able to do that, it's like a what if thing. Because his first 5 years, if he played like that for his whole career, he would be challenging the great one. Kind of sad that Ovi's passing numbers tapered off after this, but it is what it is. Year 6, the 2010-11 season, 32 goals, 53 assists, 85 points, and 79 games played. Another quality season for Ovi as his points per game was above 1. It was 1.08. Sorry, I got something in my eye here. I don't know what it is. Year 7, the 2011-12 season, 38 goals, 27 assists, 65 points, and 78 games played. This was actually Ovi's first season below 1 point per game. For the average, it was 0.83 points per game. Year 8, the 2012-13 year, that was 32 goals, 24 assists, 56 points, and 48 games played. He did not get injured. That was the lockout season, if you remember right. And if I do recall, that was the year the Blackhawks beat the Bruins in the Stanley Cup Final. And Ovi averaged over a point per game, so he had 1.17 points per game. Another great season by Ovi. You're going to get, you're going to hear this for me the rest of the way. Another great season by Ovi, probably because he's an all-time great player. So don't expect me to say this was a terrible year by Ovi, because really he's never had a terrible year. Year 9, the 13-14 season, 51 goals, 28 assists, 79 points in 78 games played. And he managed to eke out a points per game above 1, where it was just 1.01. And then year 10, 2014-15, another 50-goal season. It's honestly insane how he keeps doing this. 53 goals, 28 assists, 81 points in 81 games played. I'm not going to do the math on that, because you should be able to. He played 81 games, he had 81 points. If you can't do the math, then you're either young or you're not very good at math. Year 11, 15-16 season, another 50-goal season. So, wow. 21 assists, 71 points in 79 games played. This is only one of 2 seasons Alex Ovechkin's points per game was below 1 within his first 11 years. So that just goes to show you how consistent Alex Ovechkin is. And it was 0.9 points per game. It wasn't like he fell off a cliff or anything like that. Year 12, the 2016-17 season. This was the year that it seemed like everybody was saying Ovi fell off a cliff, Ovi this, Ovi that. It was honestly not even a bad season. He was still a very good player. He had over 30 goals. I don't know what everybody was complaining about. He had 33 goals, 36 assists, 69 points in 82 games played. Good for 0.84 points per game. So it wasn't even his worst points per game season. But everybody was saying that the sky was falling and Ovi was done for. Year 13, the 2017-18 season, obviously the year that Ovi ended up winning the cup against the Vegas Golden Knights. He bounces back, 49 goals, 38 assists, 87 points, and 82 games played. Good for 1.06 points per game. Another year that Ovi doesn't miss a game. Russian machine never breaks. It's true. He rarely ever misses games. Year 14, the 2018-19 season, 51 goals, 38 assists, 89 points, in 81 games played. He ended up with a points per game of 1.1, which was his best, his highest amount of points that he had, 89 points on the season, ended up being his highest since the 09-10 season. So he's aging like a fine wine, and he's still being able to get it done. And then this most recent season, the 2019-20 season, in year 15 of his career, with a shortened season, he still put up 48 goals, so he definitely would have hit 50 as long as he was healthy. 19 assists, 67 points in 68 games played, just 1 point per game shy of, or 1 point away from being able to say he averaged 1 point per game, and it ended up being 0.9 points per game. So obviously we can see that Alex Ovechkin is a big-time goal scorer. Currently he is 8th all-time on the list for goals, and I think by the end of the year he'll probably be 4th. Currently Alex Ovechkin is 188 goals behind Wayne Gretzky. So can he break the record? Here's my take. Yes, but he's going to have to play all 5 years if he really means it, maybe even more. But if he says that he's done within 5 years in the NHL, he's going to need to score about 38 goals per year to make that happen. Also, he's 35, the clock is ticking, and I'm not sure if it's going to be able to happen. I love Ovi, and I just don't think he's going to be able to do it if it's within 5 years. If it does, I think it'll be Ovi having 2 amazing seasons this year and the year after, and then after that maybe it tapers off, but because his production was still very good, he's able to make it happen. Obviously, I would never doubt Ovi. He has proven over the course of 15 years he's been worth every penny of his contract and then some. I mean, this was back before the longest contract you can sign now is 8 years. He signed a 13-year deal, and he never should have signed it because he was worth way more money than what he signed for. But it's alright because he's still a millionaire. But I definitely think he helps that he never misses a game, but he can't really afford to at this point if he wants to break the record. We obviously talk about how Alex Ovechkin never misses games. Russian machine never breaks. There's literally a website for him. He doesn't miss games. This past year, he missed, or maybe it was 2 years ago, he missed being able to play every single game because he got penalized for not playing in the All-Star game because he wanted to be with his family over the break, and they took away a game. So really, he didn't miss a game all year, is how I look at it. It's just the league kind of being a pain in, never mind. Moving on. It's just frustrating because Ovi has really had 3 things that have held him back from possibly breaking the Great One's record. That is the 04-05 lockout. That's 82 games that Ovi never is going to be able to get back. The 2012-13 lockout, that was 34 games. Obviously not as big, but obviously that is still some time he's missed. And then number 3, the COVID, or or COVID ruining his regular season, canceling 13 games. So if you look at all that, that's 129 games that he would have been able to play to catch up to Gretzky. And really any game you can be able to play to, or any amount of games you can be able to play to catch up to Gretzky is huge. And he just can't get him back. And if we go off the average of how many goals he scored, that actually, out of those games that he's missed, he'd get about 79 goals. So he'd be 79 goals closer to Gretzky, meaning that if he played 5 years, he'd only need 22 goals per year instead of 38, like I previously mentioned. So I think that really that's going to hurt him in the long run. It's basically a long shot to happen at this point if it's going to be within 5 years. And I think a lot of things are going to have to be able to go right to make it happen. But I really do hope it does. The problem is that he's never really had a serious injury to where he's missed a bunch of games. Here's the thing. Knock on wood, he's 35. You think that that's probably going to... If one injury happens and it's long, it's the record shot. There's no way he gets it, which is what I don't hope happens. I want to be able to look back and talk to whoever it is in the future about hockey and say Alex Ovechkin was the greatest scorer in the NHL, and either way, I don't get in that hot take. That's a little too hot of a take for me to make. But anyway, the thing that I want to talk about was a detail I skimmed over, and that's the fact that the Great 8 played a shortened season in the KHL during the 2012-13 lockout. His stats were impressive. He had 19 goals, 21 assists for 40 points in 31 games played, which was a whopping 1.29 points per game. As you can see, Alex Ovechkin can obviously play at a high level in the KHL, and even though he may not perform to the level that happened in the 2012-13 season when he gets older, I still think he'll play well. Besides, he never said that he expected to be amazing in the KHL. He just said that he wanted to come home and play for his hometown team. Either way, Ovi, here's to you playing well and staying healthy. If you ever see this, mention it in a comment. I wouldn't mind. Heck, I would love to hang out with you and get to meet you. But anyway, that's going to be the end of the video, guys. Let me know what you think. Will Alex Ovechkin break the Great One's record? Everybody have a great week and stay safe from COVID. Goodbye, Brigadiers and Brigadettes, and hockey fans in general. This is your captain signing off. Have a great week.